If you're a dog lover, chances are you want the very best for your furry friend. All the best food, toys, treats, and of course, great places for your dog to walk and run and play. And in 2015, inspired by the love for her own dog, Maddie, Shannon Stevens got together with other dog lovers to talk about if and how they could make a dog park a reality in Framingham. After all, Maddie and other dogs needed a place to meet up off-leash, run around, play, and get some exercise. And now, just about 7 years later, Framingham's first dog park is under construction. So welcome, Shannon, and thank you for just getting the ball rolling on this whole effort. What inspired you? I know you said it was Maddie, though, right?
Yes, Maddie. Maddie loves socializing and going to dog parks and doing anything social, and any chance I had to get her off of leash so she could sniff and play with whatever she wanted to play with was welcome. And when I moved to Massachusetts, specifically Framingham, there was no enclosed space for her to do that, and I wanted to bring that to the city.
And was she a big dog?
Well, I didn't think she was big. She was about 60 pounds, so some people consider that big.
But it's hard to watch your dogs, you know, on the leash all the time, sitting around the house and just not being able to get out there and take off.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and so, but a lot of people feel that way, but they don't go out and start a dog park. So, what's the difference here? How did you get going? And
well, a lot of people also feel that they can let their dog off leash as long as they think it's okay, when it's actually against the law to do so. And I don't feel that that's safe for people or for other dogs, because you never know if your dog is going to be okay with another dog off leash and vice versa. So,
and you never know how they're going to react to a particular person or another dog or a car. So it's uncertain.
Right.
But then you created a group, and how did you come up with the name?
So I actually ran a brainstorming session with a couple of really enthusiastic dog owners, and we had a whole bunch of ideas, and that was the one of all of the ideas that everybody really was happy with, because it was a combination of Framingham and then a bark, obviously. So that's what kind of stuck.
So Fram Bark is still around?
Yep.
How many people do you have in the group?
So we have 5 board members, but we don't have an official membership roster. There are several hundred people in the Facebook group, and as we saw in the summer event that we held, there are a lot of really enthusiastic dog owners in Framingham. So I feel like our unofficial numbers are pretty substantial.
So you talked about an event that you held, and obviously you've had to build up a lot of interest in this park, and you've been doing it since 2015. So what kind of events did Fram Bark have to pull together, and what was the purpose really? Was it focused on building up visibility or participation? What was it?
Yeah, to start, we did community events like concerts on the Common, and we did a fall festival, and we actually held a parking day when Downtown Framingham Inc. was still Downtown Framingham Renaissance. So we built a miniature dog park on Park Street in downtown Framingham, and that was all to raise awareness, to let people know, hey, here's a dog park, it's going to be amazing, try it out. And then this summer, we had, I called it Dog Park Days of Summer, where we had a doggy ice cream truck, the Kona ice truck was there, and we had a couple of other vendors there.
What fun!
Right, it was a lot of fun.
Who had more fun, the dogs or their owners?
I think the dogs, definitely. The person who ran that truck said she sold over 150 dog ice creams that day, which was a lot.
Is dog ice cream different than regular?
Dog ice cream is usually made with vanilla, yogurt, and it doesn't have sugar in it, because sugar, it's not awesome for people, but it's really not good for dogs.
Okay. So you had this wonderful event, Doggy Days of Summer, and did you have a good turnout?
We had a fantastic turnout, lots of enthusiastic dog owners, and then everybody got a chance to actually see the site where the dog park would be built, because it was just a few steps up the path at Farm Pond.
So this dog park's going to be built on Farm Pond, and everybody got to come out and just kind of scope it out.
Yep.
And the dogs had ice cream. And you've had others events as well, right?
Yes.
Even involving beer or not involving beer?
Well, beer for people.
Yes.
We had an event at Exhibit A. We had a little yappy hour at Exhibit A.
Did you say yappy hour?
A yappy hour, yeah. Where a lot of people bring their dogs to Exhibit A because it's a fantastic place to sit outside with your dog and have a beer in their beer garden. And we also had a little bit of a raffle there. We had a person there who uses spent grains to make dog biscuits, and so he was hoping to partner with Exhibit A to use spent beer grains to make more dog biscuits, which was a fantastic cross-promotion, local business idea.
Absolutely. And so all along, you know, when you were trying to get this dog park going, what were some of the struggles that you faced? I mean, was it something that you needed a lot of help with? Is it something you faced a lot of challenges with? If you say you started in 2015 and it's just starting to break ground in 2022, then obviously a lot happened in those years.
Yeah.
What was the experience like?
So it started with a message on it might still be around, the old Frambour's message board. I put a message out and said, hey, we don't have a dog park. Why don't we have a dog park? And started a conversation going, and shortly thereafter I had my first public meeting, and we kind of rolled along from there. It was really, really hard to nail down the right people to talk to at first because Framingham was still a town. The government structure was kind of not clearly defined for somebody who wanted to start a grassroots project like that. So we really struggled. I formed a 501c3, but my board and I really struggled with finding the right people to kind of help us pull the right levers. And then...
Did you ever go before the selectmen at that time?
I actually talked to Charlie Szyszewski when he was the head of the selectmen.
Oh, okay.
So, and, but I also talked to, we went to town meeting, where we were trying to collect petition signatures and not really getting really good exposure to the right people to get into that huge body of legislators at the time. And around 2017, 2018, when Framingham became a city, we decided to hit the pause button for a little bit and let the city
settle into the new government.
Right. And then we started to pick back up in like 2019-ish.
Had you talked along the way to the Parks and Rec department?
Yes.
And were they receptive to the whole idea?
We struggled to get prioritized on the project list. They have a huge project list.
Oh, like a capital projects list?
Yeah, and it was hard to find the right way to get prioritized on that project list. So we kind of struggled with like, who do we talk to and how do we get on the list and how do we get it prioritized, and then who do we have to push to get things prioritized. And yeah, so it was a lot of like chicken and egg kind of stuff happening.
But you stuck with it all along.
Yeah, we were.
And what do you feel was one of the key turning points for you?
So,
because obviously there's a lot of dog lovers out there.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, so I should say that when we first started, we had a very enthusiastic following, folks who were willing to stand outside a Stop and Shop in the freezing cold weather and get signatures.
So you did get signatures?
When we started, yes, absolutely. And but as we moved along over the years, the enthusiasm kind of dwindled when we weren't able to like at least get a location for our park, and we were just part of a victim of the process, right? Like it was really hard to kind of get there that way.
Do you think people didn't, or like when I say people, do you think the decision makers didn't really take the idea of a dog park as seriously as they would have something else because it was for dogs, or was it just that there were so many other competing priorities?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
Hard to tell.
Yeah, I don't really honestly know. if I knew that answer, I probably would have been able to push it through better than I did. But,
well, you did push it through. You did not give up. You stuck
Yeah.
with it for a really long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And what was the, when did you finally think it would actually become a reality?
Probably 2020, sometime in 2020, maybe I think early 2020, which is of course when the pandemic hit, or when it really like locked the world down. Tom Bijan kind of took the reins on it and really is the reason that it took off like wildfire. Just like he got the right people in the right places. He talked to Mike Radner, who ultimately did the design on the park.
So Tom was in the Parks and Recreation Department.
Yes, this is
and you
before
connected with him, and a light went off, or did you know? Like,
so he caught wind of us trying to get the process going. We were going to try to make it a community initiative, like through city council, and I don't know what happened between the time that we started that and the time that it kind of took off with parks, but I think all of the stars aligned so that, hey, the right people are like, yes, let's do this. So, and Tom's a dog lover, so that helps. That helps. Yes. And he also took all the research that we did on dog parks and the funding opportunities and stuff like that, and his wealth of experience in doing parks projects. And so he's really the main reason I feel like that this is actually happening. And unfortunately, he went to the school. So, but he did.
He's still in Framingham.
He did all the hard work.
He went from the Parks and Recreation Department into the school department.
Yes, yes.
So does he still communicate periodically about it? Or
I haven't talked to him, but I would be very happy to see him at the grand opening.
Well, there's a grand opening coming up soon, right?
There's a groundbreaking coming up soon. The grand opening, they're hoping for a little bit later. Yeah, sometime in 2022.
Will it be in 2022?
Yeah, the expectation is, weather dependent and, lots of factors dependent, but the hope is that it's sometime in 2022.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So will your group be involved in planning that? Do you have a vision for what you'd like that to look like?
Yeah, so as the president of Frambark and also as a Parks and Rec Commissioner, I've been working with Jim Snyder and Elaine Prue, and that whole team really to talk about what we want to do for like ceremonies and celebrating successes. So we've been all talking together.
Was this effort what led you to become a Parks and Rec Commissioner?
Yeah, partially. Yeah, definitely. I became very excited in Parks in Framingham. Parks in Framingham are amazing. They do an amazing job, and it's great to be a part of a group that is really passionate about making sure that we have great open spaces.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you're doing good work there, and you obviously have championed this. What is it that you think is behind the need for a dog park? Is it really to, obviously dogs can't run off leash, right? What is the rule? Yeah, there's a leash law.
Yes, there is a leash law.
And a license law, right?
Well, it's actually a state law. It's not even a Framingham law, but Framingham is tasked with enforcing it. So there's a licensing law that everybody who has a dog who's ever gotten that letter in the mail that says you owe this much money to license your dog, that comes from the state. Or the language comes from the state.
$10 in Framingham, right?
Right.
Unless you don't pay by the end of February.
And then it's $50, right?
I always get mine in that time.
Yes. And then there's the leash law that, again, Framingham is tasked with enforcing. But people, there are always people who know like where you can go that nobody's watching, but there is a leash law, and the leash law is there really for everybody's safety. It's not safe to have dogs on leash and off leash in the same spaces. Not
for them either. I mean, they do sometimes run away, and they do sometimes encounter other animals in the forest, in the woods, that they don't know how to cope with. So it's for everyone's safety. But when you get dogs into a dog park, are you concerned about behavior not only of the dogs but of the owners?
Absolutely. It's very important for both dogs and their owners to be well behaved and respectful and responsible. And this is something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about and trying to address. Within the space of Frambark, I've done some educational seminars, bringing in professionals to talk to the dog owners group. Of course, then we only reach the people that attend. I really would love to have a formal program in place to give people the tools that they need to address situations in a dog park where they would need to, say, ask somebody to behave differently or to remove themselves and their dog from a space, because that does happen. I mean, I would be lying if I said it doesn't happen. It does happen. In fact, my dog was misbehaving at a dog park not too long ago, and I had to remove him from the situation. And that's what you're supposed to do. Not always like that, thank goodness, but yeah, people need to be responsible and respectful and know that their dog can be good in a dog park. I definitely have a dog that cannot go to a dog park because she would not do well in a dog park. It's important to know your animal and how they will behave in that space.
So Maddie's not with you anymore?
No, Maddie passed in September.
And so your new dog, Jack, is that his name?
Yes, Jack.
He's looking forward to the park?
Oh, he's very much looking forward to the park, yes.
I see he volunteers also.
He is
with one of your favorite organizations who you want to get him to partner with.
Yes. We're teaching him to smell garbage so he can help us with Keep
Framingham
Beautiful.
How do you teach him to smell garbage?
Very carefully.
So talk about that partnership. What are you hoping to accomplish with a partnership here?
Yeah, so I have been working with Mike Croce with Keep Framingham Beautiful to brainstorm ideas for a partnership with them to make sure that we've got a consistently engaged group of volunteers who will clean up both the dog park space, like the space enclosed in a fence, but then also the wider farm pond area. You know, and that would probably include places like the skate park and any other activities that they put along that corridor. But we want to make sure that that area in general is kept looking amazing. And I know Mike is as enthusiastic about that as I am. So I'm excited to see what comes.
Sounds like a great partnership.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's great to also think about just another opportunity for not only dogs, like in this video we're going to take a look at. You can see how happy and playful the dogs are when they're in a park. You can see that it gives the owners an opportunity to relax, sit down, have conversation, see their dogs enjoying themselves. This happens to be a dog park in Natick called the Eddy Park, but what will the Framingham Dog Park be called?
I don't know that they've had any formal discussions around that. I've just really been talking about it as the Framingham Dog Park.
There's always dogs coming in, leaving, and the other dogs get excited to see the new dogs coming in and welcome them and then see who they want to play with. It's a great opportunity, and I have to say you deserve a lot of credit for all the effort you put in. So that is going to be at Farm Pond next to the skate park, across from Cushing, right down the street from Cushing, and with a beautiful view of Farm Pond.
Yes.
How exciting.
It's going to be amazing.
You must feel an incredible sense of accomplishment.
Yes, it's going to be great. I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you for bringing everyone together and bringing this idea forward so that it becomes a reality for all the dogs and the owners, dog owners in Framingham to enjoy. Really, that's like a great, great accomplishment. And I think that it makes that whole area just so welcoming. There's so many great activities right there in that same area now. Yeah. So many reasons to go.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
You know, Shannon Steven's dogged efforts were very fruitful, and she got the ball rolling on this project. And next we're going to hear and see more about what it will look like and how it all came together, because we'll be right back with Jim Snyder. He's the director of the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs. We'll be right back. Framingham's Parks and Recreation Department became an essential partner in getting the design, location, and funding for the city's first dog park. And James Snyder is the director of the department. He's here to go over a lot of the progress and all the work that went into it. So welcome, Jim. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to say that we just spoke to Shannon Steven. She talked about her dog Maddie and how Maddie was her inspiration for really wanting a dog park, and not just for her, but for all dog owners and lovers and dogs in Framingham, and how the idea came to her almost 7 years ago. And here we are now in 2022, and it's going to become a reality. So a lot of that depended on you and your department. And I think it's helpful to understand what had to take place behind the scenes. What was the process to turn a resident's idea like that into a reality?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so it's nothing really magical. It's really something that we do with a lot of the projects. We have kind of a standard formula that we use. An awful lot of that includes public input. We love to hear from the public. We love to hear from our neighbors about the needs that we have here in Framingham. So the dog park did become a need. It was more of a discussion point for a while before Shannon got on board. The previous director, Bob Marusi, actually planned for a dog park in that same location a number of years ago. Funding being what it was, I think it was around the 2008 time frame or so. Unfortunately, it didn't have enough momentum and didn't get the support at that point to move forward. Shannon came to me, like some residents do. They have an idea. We'd like to do a dog park, or we'd like to improve our neighborhood park, or we'd like to see something new. Veterans Park is an example. The veterans came to me and said, you know, we'd really like to spruce up this park. How do we go about doing that? So the first thing is to get a group of people together, you know, and have your base, which Shannon already had through Frambark. She had some friends and other people that were very interested in bringing the dog park to Framingham.
Yeah, she talked about how they went around getting signatures.
Exactly.
They held a lot of events to build visibility and just get people more involved.
Yeah, and really it took a couple of pushes for her to really convince everybody in Framingham that it was a project worth moving forward. You know, the first push that we had an original location that was going to be at the base of the recycling center, if you're familiar with that on Dudley Road.
Yard waste recycling?
Yes,
or,
yard
okay,
waste.
so where you go to drop all the leaves and everything else. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
At the same time, the DPW was actually looking to do a project there too, to help you know, work with the recycling center, the leaf dump, and everything that was there. So what ended up happening was, unfortunately, the project got stalled on the DPW side, and so that land never became available. So, and that was a source of frustration. It was frustrating for us. It was frustrating for Frambark. It seemed like you know, an unfortunate delay. For the Stanton Foundation grant, you needed to have a site-specific chosen, dedicated by the town. So this is when Tom Bijan actually became the project manager at that point, and he did a tremendous job.
What was Tom's title in the department?
Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation.
Okay, and he became, you said, the project manager on this?
He was the project manager on this particular project, yep.
Okay.
So he helped work with Shannon very closely. He held several public meetings.
And she told me he was also a dog lover.
He owns a dog,
yeah.
Yep, and is a dog lover, so that certainly
that doesn't
helped
hurt,
too.
right? Yeah.
That's half of our office.
Yeah.
You know, half of our office
Yeah.
has dogs. So, yeah, so it really worked out well. I think, you know, it was a good match for Tom, a good project for him to work on. Certainly Shannon wanted to see it happen as well. So, you know, again, we involved the public first and foremost, held public meetings, had a survey that went out to gauge interest, and the response was overwhelming. Framingham wanted to see a dog park somewhere in Framingham, not just one, maybe two. We do like to balance things out between, you know, on the Cushing side of town and also the Saxonville or Knobscot side of town. So we do try to balance that out. But, you know, the Stanton Foundation was excited to hear that we had selected a site. And that, again, was done through a hugely public process.
Yeah, so we need to back up for a minute,
Yeah,
though,
sorry.
because you mentioned the Stanton Foundation, but most
Yes.
people don't know about the Stanton Foundation.
Right.
So when you decided to pursue this with all this public interest, obviously you were looking for funding. You didn't want it to all be taxpayer funded, right? So you wanted to look for some grant opportunities. That's where Stanton comes in?
Shannon came to the table knowing the Stanton
knew that?
Foundation. Yes, she did.
So she had done a lot of,
I knew she
did a lot of homework, but she did even more about the funding. Okay.
Yep, she did her research, and like I said, there were certain requirements that need to be in place. It had to be a site that was already dedicated by the city or town. It had to have water and shade as amenities there. They needed to check the design because they build and support these types of projects all over the United States. So,
but designs cost money too.
Yep, so they did pay for some of the design money as well. So, and that's why it was an incredible partnership to work with them.
Wow.
So they were able to provide some design money. We were able to get Michael Radner on board from Radner Designs. He had built dog parks before. And he was familiar with Framingham and the project, so he had been following it for a number of years. So he was excited to come on board as well. So he through the public process, created some conceptual designs, and then we landed on a final design and a final location, which was key.
Now, there's a Stanton Foundation dedicated to funding these types of projects. What is the philosophy behind that?
They have 3 different missions.
Yeah.
Some of them is more philanthropy, some of it is more an engineering side of things, and one of them is specifically dog parks.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, they've funded up to $225,000 they would fund up to. This project met that full criteria, so we did get the full allotment, which was great. Unfortunately, that is a little bit short of where we needed to be, where the bid came in. 268,000 and change was where the bid came in at. So there was a delta of about 30 to 40,000, and we did work with some of our accounts within Parks and Recreation. We worked with the city and worked with Frambark to try to close that gap, and we were able to do that, fortunately. So yeah, we don't have a lot of wiggle room. There's not a lot of contingency, but so far the project's been going very smoothly.
Now, you said you had to go to Stanton with a specific location and design. So how hard was it to come up with the location? Because you said the first one fell through.
It fell through, yes. Unfortunately, it just wasn't going to be available in the time frame that we wanted to complete the project. So there were several other locations, one on Temple Street, and 3 along Farm Pond. So the Farm Pond North one was the one that we had suggested originally. That was the one by the recycling center. And then there's a Pine Grove just to the right of the aqueduct. That was a second site. And then there was the original site that we had talked about, the dog park, which was up on that hill to the right of the skate park. And that's actually where it ended up staying, again, through public input. Majority of the people like to see it in that area. They didn't want to have any more congestion or traffic around that recycling center. There's an awful lot, especially on the weekends. So.
Do you feel that the parking there near the skate park, that's going to be the same parking for the dog park, right?
Right.
Do you think it's enough?
Well, no, not for everything we want to do, and that's why we have extra parking or spillover parking. So we are going to use Loring Arena lot.
Oh, okay.
There is a, down near the bocce courts, there is a small parking lot there as well. And then there's also Cushing Park.
Are those bocce courts kept up and active?
Yeah, we actually have groups that are out there, and they play a small league and thing.
Do they have to bring their own bocce balls?
No, they have a container down there. If the general public wants to use it, they should bring their own equipment. But we do have some stuff down there for league play. Yep.
So much there. It's incredible, really incredible. So tell me, when you were looking at the design work with Radner, you said?
Yes.
Radner had done other parks in the area. Did they also do the park in Natick, or?
They didn't do the park in Natick. I forget which park.
Oh wait, I think I remember Shannon now saying they did some on the North Shore.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the criteria? What were you hoping to accomplish in this design to make it special for Framingham?
We wanted to include input, of course, from the community, because the community has the best ideas on what they want to see. So of course we had to do some shade elements. The other thing that they wanted to do was some agility elements. So there's in the design, and we'll bring up the picture perhaps in a few minutes.
Yeah.
There's a few other design elements, hoops to jump through, things to go in and around. It was important that
climb on?
To climb on, yes. It was important that the design have 2 separate parks built into one, so one for smaller dogs and one for larger dogs. That was a really strong criteria that we wanted to see. It wasn't necessarily a requirement by Stanton Foundation, but Framingham wanted to see it.
That's very common to keep the small dogs separate from the big dogs. I mean, you don't want, you know, a little Yorkie that weighs 5 pounds in the same play area with a Great Dane.
Right, exactly, and that was the concern, that it's not just different sizes, but it's also different aggression levels for animals too.
Right.
So this design actually has a double swing gate so that you can cross into it safely without, you know, either dogs getting out or in. It's got a water feature there. It'll have a camera there. The police suggested for security reasons that we have a camera there. Just in case there's any incidents, we can have some, you know, evidence, some video that can help explain the situation of what went down. So we certainly were looking at security as well. And then the large area actually offers a concrete area that makes it fully accessible. It offers rice stone, which is, has less impact on dogs' pads, and it's very forgiving for dogs to play on. And then we have a wide open section that's just hills, just over hill and dale, kind of grassy area that they can really stretch their legs, and you can throw a ball, and they can really get a workout in there as well. The really great thing about the location of this park on Farm Pond is it's interconnected with a lot of trails. So you have the aqueduct trails, you have Farm Pond, you have Cushing Park, Longs Park across the street. So we call that kind of our recreational corridor, or our central park here in Framingham, which just has so many recreational amenities up and down the road.
It's really a destination.
It is.
Yes. And Farm Pond, can you walk all the way around Farm Pond?
You can, but it's not a formal walkway. There is some trains, you know, that go through there, but you know, there is the ability to walk around if you would like.
So if your dog's not in the park at that moment, in the fenced-in area, there's plenty of places to walk your dog.
Lots of open space.
And, and in the dog park, how will you maintain it, keep it clean, and make sure that others keep it clean as well?
The Stand Foundation requires that we're out there regularly picking up dog waste and things like that. So we'll be out there. Fortunately, it is on that main recreational corridor, so we have vehicles going up and down that road all day long. Certainly with the skate park there, that deserves a little added attention as well. So we do go out there more frequently, picking up trash and picking up other things that are there. We will have dog waste bags that are there, and we're also going to be encouraging the public to be responsible dog owners and pick up after themselves. Frambark is going to help support us in that effort as well. But we want to make it fun. We're going to have some fun activities out there. So we're going to work with Frambark to bring out a doggy treat truck that comes out.
That's so funny you mentioned that, because she said that she had a summer days, dog days, and had a doggy ice cream truck.
Exactly.
And that it was very popular.
Yeah,
there were like
was.
a ton of doggy ice cream served up that day, which we now know has less sugar than human ice cream.
Right.
But the dogs will love that, and what makes the dogs happy makes the owners happy. And what about the humans that are there with their dogs? Is there anything for them? Can they rest? Will they be comfortable there with the dogs? Do they just stand around the perimeter? How will that be set up?
Sure. So it's funny you mention that, because we actually call it a people park for dogs. So yeah, it's really geared towards comfort of the individual, but the dogs obviously get to have some fun as well. So like I said, we made it ADA accessible, fully ADA accessible. There is a shelter, a shade shelter there with some seating. You know, so it's going to be very comfortable, I think, for people to come bring their dogs there. Like I said, it's geared. The design is geared towards people as well as dogs.
Now, everybody obviously is going to want to know when, and I want to get there tomorrow. So, you know, the level of excitement is certainly going to be building.
Right.
What's your estimated time frame, and what will you do in order to formally open it up?
Sure. So we are having sort of a groundbreaking, you know, ceremony soon. The ground has actually been broken, but the weather was not really conducive to having a ceremony. So we are going to plan to have that just to kind of formally show that we are breaking ground and we're moving forward with the park. So they're actually making great progress as we speak. And then we'll have kind of a soft opening. You know, once things are in place and dogs can come in there, we'll still be developing the landscaping, and there'll be probably some fine tuning to do, but we'll have a soft opening at that point. We'd love to have people in there by the end of the fiscal year. So by
that's
the end of June.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, that
June
would be
22,
ideal.
June 2022.
I do always preface
Fingers
that
crossed.
with,
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen. I mean, there could be issues with the supply chain. There could be issues, you know, where you're digging and you hit something. You know, you don't know. So I say that cautiously. I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll open then. But yeah.
So do you have any idea, I asked Shannon this and she didn't know, what you're going to name it?
Right now it's Framingham's first dog park. So right now it does not have a specific name. I can work with the group. We do have a small, you know, kind of working group that's helping to design some of these ceremonies and make it a special place. So I'll bring that back to the group. No, there hasn't been mention of a official naming ceremony. There is a process the city uses to name parks and other things, so we would have to follow that policy.
Okay. Now you said there's a working group. Obviously you have commissioners, you have department employees. I'm sure that they all get credit for the work that went into this. And I'd love to hear about how they engage, how regularly they have to meet to discuss it, what kinds of things they've been working on together throughout the process.
So again, it was a big public process, but it was this smaller group that helped to refine some of the things. So when we get down to, you know, colors of some of the items, or you know, helping to get the word out. You know, Frambark has been great. They have a Facebook page and a Facebook group, so they've been great to give, you know, periodic updates. You know, to figure out, you know, kind of where we are with everything. And I know they've been posting different pictures of the progress that we've had. This working group is really designed for, right now, the management of the project. So there's day-to-day things that have to be managed. There's occasional change orders. There's questions that need to be answered. So Tom Bijan, like I said, was the project manager before. I've stepped into that role in the interim, and we have a new deputy director that will be starting up soon that will also be involved with that project as well. So, you know, we have a lot of people in the office, like I said, that have dogs, so they want to be involved with the project too. So Maria Soma has been great. She's our office manager at helping organize some things. Elaine Prue has been great. She's our recreation superintendent. She also has a dog, but she has helped us get signs and is helping with the ceremonies and things like that. So Councilor Mike Cannon has stepped in and offered his assistance wherever he can to try to, you know, make it as smooth a process as possible. And
well,
that's
that's
what we're
great.
looking at. Yeah.
That's great. It certainly is a community effort, and that's great to hear about all the people that are stepping up to help make it happen. When you talk a little bit about the recreation corridor there, there's so much that in that one strip along Dudley Road. Do you have everything there, like on a schedule, in terms of servicing it and maintaining it and cleaning and picking up, and you know, and how is it when you add to that? Because if you take it all the way from maybe where it intersects with is it Union Ave, crosses over, and then goes across over to all the way down by Loring, that whole strip.
So we actually think about that corridor as being all the way from Bowditch down to Loring.
From Bowditch to Loring, right. That makes sense.
And actually, you know, to help facilitate access to that, we worked with the Community and Economic Development. That was one of the first projects I worked on when I got here, to develop a nice recreational corridor there. So it's a actual path. It's a 10-foot path that almost runs the full length of Farm Pond, which has been great for skaters, for bikers, for walkers, runners.
A 10-foot path goes where?
From basically right at the leaf dump there, the recycling center, all the way down to Loring Arena. There's a
so it's 10 foot wide.
10 foot wide.
All along the pond.
Yes. Yep.
Nice.
And it's called a recreational pathway. You know, I think it was designed really to help you know, commuters, and people could take bikes and things like that. But with the addition of the new apartments that are all around the area, the Bancroft, the Buckley, and all that, you know, there's more and more people that are utilizing the parks that are walking there. What we're noticing. So we have tried to provide amenities with the dog park, with the skate park, and those are relatively new. We've had the bocce courts that have been there originally. Loring Arena, Longsfields, which is an athletic complex.
Longfield's right across the street.
Right
a lot
across
of
the street.
baseball A lot of baseball games going on over there,
Yes.
practices and everything going on over there.
Little League, smaller diamonds, bigger diamonds, yep. And Keefe actually uses it for soccer in the back as well. And then, of course, the school, Barberry School. We have Cushing Park. Within that's the 9/11 area. So if anyone has had a chance to go to a 9/11 ceremony or see Cushing Park with a 9/11 gazebo, it's actually a very nice and peaceful place to visit. And then we have the chapel, which is used quite frequently for weddings and pictures and things like that. And then all the way down to Bowditch. It's sort of a straight shot down to Bowditch from there. So, yeah, it's getting an awful lot of use, especially during COVID.
And now with Bowditch, do you have any changes planned for Bowditch? You've got tennis and basketball and any pickleball coming anywhere? What do you?
We've added pickleball courts over at Butterworth, actually. So we found that location to be a little bit better. We have a lot of activity that happens in Bowditch between the track, cultural events. The tennis program has been there for the past couple of years, high school tennis. So we have an awful lot of activity there, but we converted 3 tennis courts into 6 pickleball courts.
At Butterworth.
At Butterworth, and that's a start. Again, a lot of people want things a little closer to their neighborhood.
What street is Butterworth on for those?
Grant Street.
Grant Street.
Yep.
Okay. Is there an address? I mean,
I don't have the address right there, but it takes up several blocks. You can't miss it. Yeah.
Okay. Because it sounds like, I mean, there's somewhere you can go in Framingham for just about anything you want to do: bocce, pickleball, the baseball, the skating, the skate park. The dog park.
We've had a lot of firsts in my time here. Framingham's first dog park, Framingham's first skate park. Mary Dennison project is going to come down the road soon too, and that's going to have a skate park. That is going to happen, yes. And we're just waiting for DEP to finalize their recommendations to us.
Because it's a cleanup as well from the Department of Environmental Protection.
It's an environmental cleanup. Well, it's actually 3 projects in one. So it's an environmental cleanup effort. It's a restoration of the utilities that are underneath. A lot of those sewer pipes and things are 100 years old. So it's an opportunity when we daylight the project. That's what the DPW calls, exposing all these pipes.
Yep.
We're going to have an opportunity to fix those for the next 100 years.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then we're going to put a beautiful park on top. Yep. And it's going to have plenty of parking. It's going to have synthetic fields. It's going to have a natural grass field, playground, workout area, skate park. What am I missing?
There'll be a skate park there too?
It's going to be a complementary one to this one. We couldn't do everything we wanted to do in this skate park design at Cushing, but this will certainly add to the inventory. We couldn't dig too far deep, so you couldn't do those deep bowl kind of elements that a lot of people like to see because it is a remediation project. So we had to stay relatively flush, but there is going to be a lot of
Any water features over there?
And a spray pad, yep. I won't go as far as say water park, but it's going to be a spray pad there.
Like a splash kind of
like
thing?
A splash pad.
A splash pad? Oh, so many kids will love that.
Yes,
oh my God, on those hot summer days. Yes, and parking?
There would be significantly more parking than there is right now, yep.
And you're also doing so much just in getting connected to the Cochituate Rail Trail now and all the walking and amenities there, and partnering with Natick and the adjacent communities to make that a usable and enjoyable amenity as well.
Yeah, we do promote that. Admittedly, that's not a project that I had really much work in. That was more of a DPW and Community and Economic Development project. But certainly we work to link trails all throughout the city. So we work a lot with the aqueducts. So the Weston Aqueduct and the Holtman Aqueduct, the name escapes me now.
The MWRA aqueducts are still open, right, to the public, even though so many of them now seem to have signs that they didn't have before that say like no trespassing. And
so the Holtman Aqueduct is an active aqueduct, so they discourage people from going on there. People still use it for walking and things. It's a great
even dogs.
path.
There's a lot of dog walking on the aqueducts as well. But it's great to walk. But when it says no trespassing, I mean, people aren't supposed to be walking.
Technically, you're really not supposed to be walking on those ones.
So why do they put those signs there?
Well, that's the MWRTA. They put those on there because it's an active aqueduct. The Weston and the Sudbury aqueducts, those are considered backup aqueducts, but we got an A&M permit from the MWRA to allow public access. So we've opened up a majority of the sections Some sections have been a little more difficult. The Sudbury Aqueduct goes under people's houses, and it kind of goes under some roads and things like that, so it's a little more difficult to make those connections. The Weston Aqueduct, we've been pretty successful opening up certain sections that the people can, Framingham residents can access.
Oh, that's great. Everyone wants to get out as much as they can, explore the outdoors and get the fresh air, pets, humans, etc. But with what you're doing now, it just seems like Framingham has really got amenities that many other communities don't. Is that true? I mean, how do you compare what the offerings are here in Framingham to other local communities?
You know, I think for Framingham, we're still growing as a parks division and a parks department. There are still opportunities to make improvements and build some new things. Sure, other communities have dog parks. Other communities may have you know, some of these other types of amenities, certainly playgrounds and a skate park and things like that. But, you know, Framingham, I think, is really unique in that we do have that kind of recreational corridor. You do have that, you know, just acres and acres and acres of open space, which is fantastic. So close to downtown, less than a mile to downtown. And it's just, you know, miles and miles of open space and recreation that people can do. That's why we really are pushing for as well the Chris Walsh Aqueduct Connection Trail. So what that will do is help make a direct connection from downtown across the train tracks, across the aqueduct, straight over to Farm Pond. So we're working on that one as well. That's the first of its kind, but it will involve a cantilever around the gatehouse, improvements to the aqueduct itself to go over there, and then access to Farm Pond on the other side. So we're all about connections, making these connections for people to make it, you know, a walkable city to be able to get to different places.
And so many people now moving into the downtown area who are looking for, you know, places to roam outside of their apartments or townhouses or whatever it is that you know, gives them the limited space. They need that greenery and they need that experience with nature. Just to feel healthy and vibrant, it really enhances quality of life, I think. I'm curious what you think in terms of Callahan now, which is a place where many people walk their dogs. And they walk them off leash also, even though, and it creates issues because not all dogs, face it, not all dogs behave well enough to be off leash. What do you think? Do you think the dog park will impact that at all? Do you think that anything will? Callahan's a state park, whereas the dog park is a city-owned park. Is there any interaction between you and the state regarding what's Callahan is used for and how it's used?
Not so much with Callahan. I mean, we do envision a certain group that will want to have that enclosed space to let their dog off leash and things like that. Like you said, it's. I think it's probably, you know, less dogs, more responsible dog owners, and knowing what their dogs are capable of doing. Excuse me. And they can judge best, you know, how safe it is to have their dog either around other dogs or people, and whether they should be off leash or not. So we are really leaning on the responsible dog owners to, you know, to really help keep an eye on them.
Well, that's good. And it sounds to me like, you know, there are so many good ideas out there, and you're not at a loss for projects, that's for sure. You've got, you know, even the Chris Walsh project sounds like, and really what's happening with the Mary Dennison Park. Those are two very big initiatives, but it sounds like they're either on the front burner or moving closer to the front burner.
Well, Mary Dennison certainly is. The Selectmen, City Council did appropriate $19.2 million towards the project. So certainly that has gotten a head start in terms of moving towards completion. Chris Walsh, we did receive some ARPA monies, and we have legislative requests that go out each year, and the legislators did support about $240,000 to go towards finishing the design and set us up for construction at some point. You know, there will be an additional ask for the funding to actually do construction at some point. But, you know, for right now, we're focusing on that.
Well, that's great. There's a lot of progress there, and of course, other organizations like the Stanton Foundation may be able to step up and help with some of that as well. It sounds like you've been really good about tapping into grants. Do you have someone who's focused on grants, who knows, you know, which projects might qualify and who to reach out to?
No, we don't have a specific person, but we have a lot of talented people in the office. So Tom was a person who would write a lot of grants. He wrote the Stanton Foundation grant. Both he and I have written a ton of CDBG grants and other ones. We received a small grant for the Vets Park on the cleaning of the memorial
Which
there.
came out beautiful. I mean, really, really beautiful.
Yeah, we were really proud of that one.
And what a nice opening ceremony.
Thank you very much. I can't claim that I had much to do with that. Lieutenant Downing was really the driver of the team on that. Yeah, he really did a great job.
Yeah, really great job. For people who want to drive by, I mean, it's right on Concord Street, right before you get to the courthouse, right? So if you're traveling south on Concord, it's right before the courthouse. It's really well done.
Thank you. Yeah, and you know, during COVID, it was, you know, obviously budgets were tight and it was hard, but we were fortunate. We were able to pull off 3 projects with very minimal funding from the city. Excuse me, one was the 150 Irving Pocket Park project, which was a group effort with Community and Economic Development, and they did a patronicity fundraising campaign, if you remember, with a match of 50%, so we ended up with $100,000 to do the project there. And the Veterans Park was done by fundraising. You know, the veterans got out there, they, you know, talked to people, they raised and sponsored donations, they sold bricks and things like that to really make it happen. And, you know, really at the end of the day, they got a $200,000 project for about $100,000.
Wow, fantastic.
I have to, you know, thank too the other city departments, Jim Palini and Facilities, DPW, certainly the police and fire. They all helped. John Schultz, he was a master bricklayer as well as a great fireman. You know, all these people came out of the woodwork to make this happen, either through their own personal donations, personal effort, or in-kind services. It was a fantastic effort.
Well, big round of applause to everyone who's contributed, because it really makes such a big difference for the community overall. I'm going to tell you, take a sip of water. I'm asking you to talk so much, I'm not even letting you breathe.
No, that's good. No, I get excited about it. I do. I love Parks and Recreation, and I love the work that I do here. So.
Yeah, and it shows, and we all get to benefit from that. So on behalf of everyone in Framingham, you know, I'll say thank you, and I know that a lot of people watching want to say thank you as well. It's a great, great outcome from all the efforts, and you know, we're growing. We're constantly growing, and more people are moving into the city. One of the things I will say is that I get asked by dog owners all the time about, at all of these different amenities, whether it's rail trails or aqueducts or parks everywhere, could there be dispensers for doggy bags and maybe places to dispose of them so that people can be more responsible in picking up after their dogs. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, we have a program. We do have containers and bags throughout the city, mostly in the parks. But if there is a need, please call my office and we could see what we can do about getting a container out there. You know, it's hard when you put too many out there. You just have to keep track of them. You have to make sure that you know where you put them all, and make sure that they're cleaned up on a regular basis, or else it becomes a nuisance, more of a nuisance.
Right. Well, there are a lot of partnerships out there also to keep Framingham cleaner and more beautiful, and I know Shannon talked about forming a partnership between Frambark and Keep Framingham Beautiful, just to even start a joint effort for dog owners to start to keep that whole farm pond area cleaner in picking up trash, etc. And she said they're working on that right now. But I do know that, you know, since we are talking about the dogs, that's a question I get all the time. Whether, you know, I'm walking on a rail trail and I'm with my dog, but I have no place, you know, to pick up after my dog. And it is a sensitive topic, because you get people, that's the first thing they complain about, is you didn't pick up after your dog.
Well, and it's been tricky because of, you know, COVID. We did have some, you know, some reductions in our budget in part-time salaries, which those are the people that really come in the summer, and they come in seasonally, they come in summer, and they really help with that trash effort. But unfortunately, we did not have a full staff the past couple of years. But I will say, you know, as we keep expanding and adding parks, if we want people to maintain you know, the parks like we do Bowditch, and have people on site that can open up bathrooms and do these different things. We are prepared to do it, but we need the support of the city and the public to make sure that we have the proper staffing to be able to do that.
Right, right. And you can't always, everybody wants volunteers, but there are only so many volunteers to go around. So some things just have to be funded. So that's understood.
Well, we've had some great volunteers too, though. I mean, public service projects. Unfortunately, one of the positions that was not refilled was our volunteer coordinator in Linda Libby, if you remember. And she was great with the gardens, with the beautification projects, with working with volunteers and things like that. So we'll get those programs back up and running soon. So we've already gotten a lot of calls for people that want to help, and that's the other great thing about Framingham is there's so many great people that want to help in one way or another.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone was thrilled to hear about what's happening with the dog park and so many of the other wonderful projects and parks that you take care of here in Framingham. So thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Take a guess how many licensed dogs are in Framingham. According to the city clerk, it's actually about 4,800. So there'll be a lot of happy dogs going off leash in the new fenced park where they can run, play, sniff, and make friends. And when you look at the new dog park in the context of that whole area on Dudley Road that we just talked about, like the recreation corridor, it's coming together quite nicely. There's the skate park across from Cushing Park and Barberry School, Long's Athletic Complex, Loring Arena, walking trail along Farm Pond, and now the dog park. I mean, it's quite the destination in Framingham for the whole family to enjoy. You're bound to be there for one reason or another. And thanks for being here today for the Audrey Hall Show, where you will always learn something new.